So how has Clovis handled the pandemic when it comes to enforcing the stay-at-home order and mask rules? And what are your policies to foster recovery?
Well, what Clovis did was we used our relationships. We worked closely with the businesses. We looked at the seniors and we said, okay, where are CDBG funds? Where can we use to help? So we took almost $1 million and we said, let's feed our seniors and let's keep them healthy. Even right now, what we're doing is we said, okay, seniors are able to get vaccines. We said, let's transport them. We will transport everyone 65 and over to wherever they want to go to get their vaccine. So we worked with the businesses. We said, let's open it up. Let's allow them to eat outside, waive fees, okay? And then what we did was the relationships, why it works, we work with fire, we work with planning, and we work with economic development. So that way we can go, that will be safe, that will be that, we'll waive fees. And that's what happened. And then for the people who lost jobs, we took 1.4 million of savings that we were going to have because we didn't build out some of the CBDG funds and gave it to help with rental assistance. And lastly, I just want to say, we also looked after city staff. We extended COVID leave all the way from the beginning of when we declared an emergency, and we gave it till now. And so we took care of our staff with proper PPE and everything that they needed as well.
I think that our response as a city has been very similar to the response as a whole across the state and unfortunately across much of the country, because there has not been a federal response and having everyone on the same page. There has been a lot of scramble. So that unevenness has really created hardship for our small businesses, because as someone who has run multi-million-dollar businesses, the most difficult thing you can have is uncertainty. So having a certain level of certainty with which we allow our small businesses to function, allowing them to use their entrepreneurial spirit, allows them to be able to be successful. But where I see our problem is that we have been inconsistent in terms of really leading by example on the things that we know can help. Things like wearing masks, things like socially distancing, things like avoiding indoor dining, and instead, we've had scenarios where we have different businesses across the community doing different things, and that's creating instability in our market because we have consumers who are afraid to frequent businesses because they don't feel like their health and safety is being taken into consideration. There is not an acceptable amount of people that we can continue to lose for this pandemic. So I think right now, I would not go through and shut down businesses, but what I would encourage is consistent and clear messaging on the steps that we need to take to mitigate our risk. And so that way we can move forward as a community.
I think that's something that as a small business owner, I bring a diversity of experience and a unique perspective to the table, because in the beginning, when we took a couple of weeks to just take a step back, gather information, figure out what the right response was going to be, I would have brought those people to the table. You bring your medical experts, you bring your law enforcement, you bring your elected leaders, and you bring your business people to the table so that everyone can participate. The leadership took a vote, our city council took a vote in May about whether or not to remove our local ordinances that would essentially ease the restrictions on our businesses and give them local ability to reopen and do things responsibly. And our city council vote on that was 4 in favor of that, and 1 person voted against that, and that was Lynn Ashbeck. And that is why I went first to our businesses when I was considering this campaign and asked them how they felt about this response. And I have incredible support and endorsements from our business owners in Old Town and other areas of the city, because they didn't feel heard. They didn't feel that they had a seat at the table. Nobody came to them at the outset to see what their participation could be and their input could be on how we came together as a city.
My no vote was not about the businesses, was about the clarity of the language. In my view, we gave businesses no more direction than we did the day before. The day after that vote, people like, well, can we open or not? So my no vote was on the clarity of the resolution. I was looking for more clarity, more affirmative action of what businesses could do, not what they can't. I think Clovis, I think, has done an exceptional job in managing the pandemic. In the beginning, we recognized the need to follow the state mandates because we didn't understand a pandemic, and that's the definition of a pandemic. And Clovis, like every other city in California, followed those mandates. It became quickly clear to us that it didn't quite work with our business community and all of that and the council's wishes. So I think Clovis did a really good job. I think we had really inconsistent messages coming from the state. One day it was this, one day it was that, and all of that made it much more difficult for cities. I think the focus needs to be on the recovery going forward. And I think our recovery plan and our policies we're well positioned to do that. We have strong support for small business. We're looking at ordinances to make new businesses easier, to make reuse of existing buildings and businesses easier for folks to do. We're looking at what to do with retail vacancies if that occurs, and supporting our employees, our workers, our folks that are in our community that needed help with housing, utility relief. Clovis has done an exceptional job around the COVID-19 pandemic.
I do not believe our city has got it right. We don't have a clear, concise message. I had called a restaurant to see if they were open, and on the phone, they had told me that no, they are not. When I asked them further, they said, oh, as long as you're not the city, we are open. It's a prohibition on business. That's what it is. We need a clear, concise message. As a business owner of an essential business, I'm fortunate, but had it not been an essential business, I would have to think, do I feed my family or keep my business open and jeopardize my position with the city? So what we needed was that an advocate on the city council for all of the business community to say that we are with you during this pandemic and we are not going to have you forced to be shut down because the lockdowns are not working.